Hello, and welcome back to the Brighter Podcast. My name is Chelsea.
And my name is Batsheva.
And my life is brighter thanks to Batsheva.
My life is brighter thanks to Chelsea.
We love to use and share stories, techniques, and tools that allow us to deepen our relationships with ourselves and our inner divine, our loved ones, and with the world around us.
And it's our wish that by sharing our journey, our trials, our tribulations, our successes, our challenges, that your life too will grow brighter and brighter.
And today's topic, we're going to be sharing another one of those tools and a few more of our own personal stories. But before we do that, we like to center ourselves and come into the space together. So let's begin with a few deep breaths. Taking a nice deep inhale in through the nose. Breathing in calming, quieting energy. And exhale out the mouth. Letting anything that's ready to go, go. Another deep breath in. Calming, quieting energy. And exhale out anything that's ready to go. Last breath. Deep breath in the nose. Inhaling, calming, quieting energy. And exhaling out the mouth. Anything that's ready to go. So today we're going to be sharing, like I said, another topic, another tool, and we like to call it the Witness Within.
So the Witness Within tool that we're sharing is inspired by a technique I learned originally from Tosha Silver, and she originally learned it from a different author. She called it radical gratitude. And the bottom line is, what we're really doing with this technique and this tool is we're going within, we're getting really, really quiet, we're listening for our innermost feelings and thoughts, the ones that generally we don't allow to bother us because they're kind of tough to acknowledge. And we don't only acknowledge them, but we actually say, we can even say it out loud, thank you or welcome. And one by one, we name them.
I had the chance to witness and to experience and to use this tool earlier this week. I guess it was maybe a couple weeks ago now, but either way, I had applied for a seed grant and made it to the final round and was so grateful for, honestly, just for the opportunity to be accepted and to share my ideas and what I had in store and how this seed grant money could help the business that I was working on. And I put a decent amount of time and energy and effort into a presentation and presented it and could ask for certain things. And then they decide what they're going to give you. After the presentation, I had felt that I did really well, especially considering the circumstances that were out of my control, such as technical difficulties, my time being cut short because of those technical difficulties, and people arriving late because of car trouble and all these other things. And I also handled the Q&A portion of it really well. And so here I am thinking I'm going to receive, my number one choice. They had asked me, which of these 4 things is your number one? Do you have them in order? And so I said, yes, they're in order, and told them which one was my number one. And then that was that. And I went on vacation. And I decided not to check my email while I was on vacation. I waited until I came home to see what the verdict was, if I had received the grant or not. And upon opening the email, I discovered that I received my 3rd choice. The practice of the Witness Within was that I was grateful, but in the same breath, I was dissatisfied because I didn't get that number 1 or number 2 choice. And being honest about that and kind of feeling like a brat, feeling ungrateful, feeling like, wow, I want to know why I didn't get what I wanted. And so Batsheva and I, during the daily dubs, I actually expressed that to her, that the wow was that I was acknowledging it and not just pushing it down. And I was really saying how I was feeling. And I voiced it not only to her, but to my husband and to our friends. And so, just sharing that and saying, I am grateful for feeling these feelings and for acknowledging these feelings. And moving on from them and just accepting where I am, accepting that it's okay to want more. It's okay to say how you are feeling.
I think that is the key because in this culture, we're all raised to know that we need to be grateful for what we have. We all have a lot if we compare ourselves to people with less. So I think that we all try to fit ourselves into that grateful box. And then in the new age world, we learn that gratitude brings blessings. And if we're grateful for what we have, then we don't have any neurons that are going to focus on fears. And so then we put even more pressure on ourselves to just feel grateful. But there can be, and there often is, a dissonance between what we're actually feeling and experiencing when something fucking goes wrong that we didn't expect to go wrong, or it goes a little sideways from what we were looking forward to, and how we want to process it. And I really appreciated you when you told me about how you were venting and you were just being so real, and you're like, I know I got money. I got some of this grant, and you were so real. You said, I got money. Some people didn't even get to the final round. Some people who got to the final round didn't even get any money. So you were clear that you knew you needed to be grateful and you were grateful. And yet you hadn't yet felt all those other shitty feelings that also, by the fact that you didn't actually get enough amount for you to do the things that you were excited about, that you were envisioning for your business, like all the extra money that they could have awarded you that would have helped you go even further, many levels up that you didn't get to go. And I, as your friend and beloved Daily W partner, I just felt really proud of you that you didn't skip that step. Like you were real and you didn't let other people kind of like force you to skip it.
Yeah, it was really interesting too because at dinner we had went out. So we went to the awards ceremony. We got our big checks, my first ever big check, the giant ones that you hold up. And we went out to dinner afterwards. And as we're sitting in the booth, it's me, my husband, and then our friend who also got awarded one of the grants, and then her husband. And as we're sitting there and we're talking about it, I start to tell them about like how I'm feeling, like what, even though I didn't get my first or second choice. And my husband starts to like place his hand on my shoulder, on my leg, like it's almost like he's trying to like hush me, or like this isn't, he is totally non-confrontational, and I love that about him. Most of the time I do try to help him to become more and stand in his own power, which tends to backfire sometimes because he'll stand up to me and then I'm like, damn it, like that's not what I wanted. But yeah, he was touching my shoulder, touching my leg. And I looked at him and I said, quit touching me. It's okay for me to express what I'm feeling. These are safe people. This is a safe space. And he, immediately apologized. And I feel like that was something also that I wouldn't have done before. I would have been like, oh, I'm embarrassing somebody or I'm making someone uncomfortable with what I'm saying. I should stop that. Just as the same way that I felt almost like not wanting to tell anyone that I wasn't happy with what I received because I felt almost like a brat, like an ungrateful little bitch. And it was the truth. It was really how I was feeling in that moment. And since then, I've definitely moved on from that. And I am grateful for what I've received. There was not a moment that I wasn't grateful. It was just that there were the other feelings there too. And I believe that you can have two feelings at the same time. You can feel both sides.
I think that is what is so powerful about this technique is that it acknowledges that there's more to this story and more to our feelings than just one layer and one level. It also, like the Wreck-It tool we shared in our last episode, the Witness Within tool, it's not physical, but it is a mental way to process difficult, uncomfortable, sometimes even violent or ugly feelings that if we don't process them and feel them safely, let's face it, we wind up either spewing toxic mess inside into ourselves without expressing it, or sometimes it comes out with people or in situations that it would be best if it did not happen in those situations or with those people. And I thought I would share one of the most powerful times that this technique, Witness Within, worked miracles for me because it was a really personal and deep situation. I remember sharing it with you at the time. It was, I don't think a year ago, but it was several months ago. And I was feeling very overwhelmed as a single mother in the house with my 4 kids, 100% custody. In general, as Chelsea knows, my children are amazing and I'm very, very lucky. And yet, as any parent knows, when you're in the trenches, life is hard and it can be overwhelming. And the kids who can be angels and, wonderful people out in public sometimes come home and unload on each other or on me or on the house. And so I was just in this moment where I was so angry and so overwhelmed and upset. And I decided to use the technique. So I went to my room, I had quiet, and I went inside and I said, I started with the surface situation. So I was like, I don't remember exactly what had happened, but I probably had just gotten in a fight with one of the kids. So I was like, I started out by saying thank you and welcome. Like, thank you for these feelings of anger toward this child who just shouted at me. And thank you and welcome this desire to pull out all her hair. And thank you for this hatred I feel. And thank you. And then I got so deep without even meaning to, because the whole way the technique works miracles is that you have to allow yourself to keep voicing every single thought that comes. And so as the thoughts were coming, I wasn't censoring them. And this thought that then came naturally next was, thank you, these feelings of wishing I had never had children. Thank you for these feelings that I wish that I had chosen a whole different life for myself. And I was like, holy shit. I was kind of in shock that those feelings were coming up. I remember even one time hitting like, thank you for hating myself. And I definitely cried in that moment. I felt like shitty, but it was a beautiful release because it was an admission of something that I would never have even consciously admitted to myself, let alone to a friend. Now that I've processed it, as Chelsea said, now she's super grateful for her seed grant. She's happy and she's moving on. And similarly, after I experienced that and really got through it and like deeply felt those really sad feelings that came up with those thoughts, but just sat with them and welcomed them and thanked them, I was like, wow, I no longer feel even mad at my kids. Like, I'm happy to be a parent. It's all good. You know what I mean? And of course, we can take a step back and see like, oh, of course she's a great mother, blah, blah, blah. But that's not really fair. We have to be real with ourselves. And in the moment, we have to be able, or we don't have to, but if we can gift ourselves with an authenticity and a compassion for ourselves that runs like as deep as the core of the earth, like as deep as those emotions need to go, then we survive them and we process them and we become stronger and more resilient. That was my experience. And that's why I love to share the tool because it's powerful.
Yeah, I agree. I think that not only is it powerful, but kind of going back to what you were touching on, if, maybe it spews out if you don't express or you don't acknowledge the way that you're actually feeling, that then it comes out at an inopportune time or perhaps against someone that has nothing to do with it. I'm sure that everyone's experienced that. It's like your partner or a friend or someone that you coworker, you know, something minor goes on and all of a sudden they erupt. Well, what do you think causes that? It's because they've experienced something and instead of processing it in that moment or afterwards by themselves, they've put it inside themselves and they've either let it build up so much that then the volcano erupts, or maybe it just happened. And instead of taking a moment for themselves and processing, you were the next person that they saw and it just got unleashed on you. And to accept and to acknowledge, and kind of back to what we talked about on the last episode, is that all emotions are equal and it's okay to feel every single one of them. I haven't actually seen the second Inside Out movie, but I love the first Inside Out movie, because I was joy, always wanting to feel joy all the time. Oh, everything's fine. Everyone's happy. What else can I do to make everyone happy? And just always looking for the positive. Let's turn this around. And not to say that, it's not, there's not a idea of looking at a glass half full versus half empty, but just the fact that every emotion does deserve to be felt. It's a whole spectrum. It's all the colors of the rainbow. It's everything. And so, yeah, I love just being able to use these different tools to gift ourselves the gift of feeling, because that's what we came here to do, to have this human experience and to feel.
I think that's a really important point, because one of the things that we have to make really clear with this technique for it to work is not to do that spiritual bypassing thing with it, where we're just like witnessing, the beauty of feeling deeply and witnessing the joy of, it's difficult to be a mom. It's like, no, you got to go
Little
below
down.
that to the shitty part, to the part that is you don't want to share with other people because it feels ugly and shameful. That is the genius and the magic of witness within, allowing yourself to be calm and quiet enough that those potentially ugly, but of course, like you said, they're as beautiful as all of our feelings, thoughts and feelings arise. And then you say thank you and welcome. You don't do anything else. That's what's interesting about this technique. That's all you do. And that alone, in my experience and in your experience and in many people's experience, we've shared this as a coach and with friends, they experience like I did, like this alchemy where your feelings of shame, resentment, all those dark feelings actually just disappear. So I really recommend playing with this tool. And if it gets confusing, you can pop on our Facebook page where we're starting to build our community and ask us about it. And we can share there as well, because it is helpful to have that loving, supportive, compassionate community of people who are all kind of working with the same or similar tools toward the same goal of self realization, of being authentic, of being a more self loving and self supportive person, which automatically makes us a much better friend, parent, child, partner.
Amazing. I know that whenever I first started using it, I definitely asked you multiple times about it and am I doing it correctly? Because you're right, it is so simple. But sometimes it's in that simplicity that we are like, is this all? Or at least I find myself doing that. Is this all I'm supposed to be doing? I feel like there should be a long list. So, yeah, inviting you to take a note of anything that you're radically grateful for and witness yourself within, and being honest and open and accepting and loving of all the feelings, all the emotions.
Absolutely. And we're going to keep this episode on the shorter side and invite you to tune into our next episode, which is all about your soul's journey in this lifetime.
Your divine plan. Until next week,
we wish you a brighter day. We love you.
Keep shining brighter every day.